Welcome everyone, and thank you very much for tuning into this session on how to stay on top of your containers from pickup to drop-off, hosted by Container Exchange. We want to disseminate quite a few of the main issues that freight forwarders and VOCCs and container owners are facing when it comes to managing containers, when it comes to doing the operations around containers. We have joining us today is Benny from Kuehn + Nagel in Belgium, Jack from Orange Containers in the Netherlands, Franzi, product lead at Container Exchange, and myself, I'm Johannes, co-founder and CEO of Container Exchange. This session will be recorded and shared with you afterwards. So everything that we see, all the questions that you see, you will get them after the event as well. Keep a lookout for the chat at the bottom right. There's a little red icon there for things that we are posting throughout the event, like the LinkedIn profiles of the speakers, questions, etc. While we're waiting now, please feel free to use the chat to write down where you're coming from, which company you're in. And with that, I think welcome again, and want to start this session with a very quick poll. You will see the polls at the bottom right as well, where we just ask 2 quick questions to get everyone into the mood. Would love to spend you 2 minutes to answer those, or 30 seconds to 2 minutes to answer those 2 questions in the polls at the bottom. And then we'll drive right into the core piece, which is the panel discussion, followed by a product tour of the Exchange Container Control product, and then finished off with the Q&A session, which is why I'd love you to post all of your questions in the questions section at the bottom right throughout the event. Thanks a lot, and have fun, everyone, over the next hour. Giving everyone a bit of time to go through the poll real quick. And while we are running through the panel discussion, I will take notes here for everyone to see both of the questions, but also of the answers as the speakers are kind of sharing their thoughts on the main questions here. I'll give everyone colors so that we can have it all nicely organized. Turning towards Benny, Jack, and Franzi to get things started on the panel discussion. How often do you or your colleagues need to correct pickup and drop-off data in releases that you're collecting? Maybe starting with you, Benny.
Yeah, hello, good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, it's a real problem that we need to tackle very closely because we often have to correct the pickups at origin when a shipment is lowered or increased. We have to amend the releases, and the truckers also don't always use the right references, so we need to correct it a lot. At the destination side, it's less of a problem. It's normally one drop-off reference that you need, one drop-off depot, and you give that to the consignee, and it's okay.
Okay, thanks a lot. Is that any different for you, Jack, in Orange Container?
From our side, we have learned. Good afternoon, everyone. From our side, we have learned a couple of times by indeed not having a valid release references, or in some cases, reference is for more containers than a supplier have in stock. But I would say actually last couple of times we have actually filtered a couple of suppliers. So we have now a handful of suppliers who we know how they work, how they operate. So last periods of, let's say, half year, it's less, because just for your imagination, we have sometimes 18 trucks waiting at the depot. For us, 18 boxes, it's just a number. But when you see pictures of having trucks waiting at X number of euros per waiting hour, it's actually quite a substantial issue.
Okay, thanks a lot. And since you mentioned the trucking side of things, I mean, typically in a leased container, the process the process is you're getting a release, and next thing you're sharing this release with the trucker, and then the trucker goes to the depot. Is in your daily operations, does it happen that truckers go to a depot without validated or confirmed releases? Is that something that's happening regularly, or not so much? Maybe starting with you, Jack, because you were just mentioning.
Not all depots have this option of checking, for example, the ITDR depot, we can check the release references, but not all the depots have this facility. And a lot of times it doesn't have to do with the release reference being valid or not. For example, what I just highlighted is one example is the supplier have 10 containers in stock. They have sent 2 releases of 10. So at the time of checking the validation of the release, it's valid. It will show valid. But if we have a release of 10, Benny has a release of 10, it's first come, first serve. And that's a bit more complicated.
Okay. Is that correct to say it's an overusage of the release, or?
Yes, indeed, that's one. So it doesn't always have to be the case the release reference is not valid. It might be valid, but it's an overuse of the release, exactly.
Okay, understood. Any different for you at Kühn + Nagel, Benny?
Usually not. And if everybody is sticking to the info they get, so that if the trucker only picks up what they got released from us, then there is no problem. We usually, well, not usually, we never send a trucker to a terminal or a depot to pick up containers without a confirmed release. So it should normally never happen, but in reality, it once in a while happens.
Okay. Great. Thank you very, very much. Where do you guys manage your releases today?
We used to have our own way of keeping track of all the releases that we were handling and giving to the truckers and to the clients. It was quite a large bookkeeping that we were having. So I hope the new container control feature will solve our problem and save us time.
And that bookkeeping system, was that an Excel or was that a ERP, something?
It was an Excel.
Okay. How about Orange Container?
Yeah, short and sweet, also Excel. And so far I find it's working quite well, honestly.
The beauty of Excel, yes, it has a lot of advantages, some limitations I'm very sure it has as well, especially once you run a more widespread organization with multiple people having to access that information.
Exactly, we have shared documents on Google. Before we were using actually 360, but now we switch over to Google. It's just a very convenient way to have multiple locations, POL, POD, access same documents with pickup reference. Everyone can see the data, exactly the arrival date. So far, until this product is launched, for us, it's still the way to do it.
Very good. So competition is Excel or Google Sheet by now. Very good. And I know Orange Container is to that extent slightly different to Kühn + Nagel because you also run your fleet of own containers. How do you separately manage own containers versus third-party leased containers? To you, Jack.
That's the challenge because running lease units, of course, we have the platform where we can keep a track, a lot of references in the boxes. Plus, we have our own Excel, which is shared between A to B, and where the journey ends after it's arrived in a port of discharge. Running our own fleet, it goes to A to B. Once it's arrived in POD, the journey starts all over again. So far we are also using Excel, but that's something where I'm very much looking forward to start launching the new product with our boxes on the platform.
And you're saying you're managing those in separate documents at the moment, or is it essentially separate rows of the same document, those own new containers versus leased containers?
It's a separate document. So for the leased ones, we have a separate document just to keep things separate. So we don't want to mix up lease units with our own units. So all our units are actually owned by ourselves. And we have the flexibility to take a decision. So that's why we want to keep that totally separate. It's still in Excel, plus we get a daily report, obviously, from the agent and the depots, which need to be kept updated constantly.
Yeah, and you consolidate those into the same Excel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe to finish up that part of the session, my favorite question, or one of my favorite questions in that is when it comes to demurrage and detention, who informs you of that you're running into demurrage and detention? What's your process for doing this? I know especially over the last 18 months or so, demurrage and detention became quite an issue for a lot of, especially freight forwarders, especially talking about the US, for example. Who's informing you about that? Maybe starting with you, Benny.
Well, that's indeed an issue. Usually, we are not informed that containers have not been returned to the depot empty, and we only notice that on the invoices that we get from exchange. The problem with that is that we also have free time. So the demurrage or the detention only starts after that free time, and that means that we only see it 2-3 months, best case 2-3 months after we picked up the container. And if then the container was returned to a wrong depot, then you can imagine then we are running behind the facts, and then we have to see where it was dropped and rectify everything. So it is really an issue, and I hope the container control feature will also solve that for the bigger part.
Is that the same if in booking COC containers? So is there proactive information from the shipping line when it comes to you're running into demurrage and detention, or is it the same that you will only see it afterwards after the fact on the invoices?
It depends on whether we are using an ocean bill of lading or our own bill of lading. With our own bill of lading, our office at destination will inform us when the container is not being picked up. If it's only an ocean bill of lading, it will depend of the shipping line. Some shipping lines will inform you after a week. Some shipping lines will only inform you after, well, I'm exaggerating, but maybe after a year they will only inform us. So it depends on the shipping line.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Any different view from you on this, Jack, or?
Well, a little bit different because we are using a network of agents who are top of the emergency detention for 2 reasons. One very obvious one is the earning margins, because we are operating our own fleet, like you mentioned. So it's our emergency detention tariff, which is in line with all the carriers. So there's a proactiveness from all the agents to be on top of that. We get a report from our agent. With lease units, it's a bit more complicated because those are large numbers. But for that, honestly speaking, so far we have not seen a lot of emergency detention because most of the Chinese receivers, they are pretty fast with pickup and drop off.
Got it. Okay, cool. Thanks a lot. We've spent a bit of time before this webinar and ran a poll across several mediums like LinkedIn, email, etc. And we asked container operations professionals, and what's the most annoying and time-consuming ops task for freight forwarders and NVOCCs when it comes to sorry, I need to find this, when it comes to leasing in containers. And those were the results. I hope it's visible for everyone. If given the chance, which container operations, which container operations would you like to automate the first? Three possible or three often selected answers were: match container bookings to the actual container fleet, get an overview of all my container bookings, and monitor pickup, ETA, PODs, and drop-off information. Pretty much half of people say that by far the biggest issue is monitoring pickup, drop-off, etc. Is that something that you can does that resonate with you? Does that make sense? Maybe looking at you, Benny, first.
Yes, absolutely. If the last monitoring is being done automatically, that would solve automatically the other two issues as well. So that's in any case the most important. But all three are important. But if the last one is solved, then the other two are solved as well.
Okay. Is that the same for orange containers? That the pickup and drop-off monitoring, that is what takes most of the time?
Well, I'm being different again.
Good. Very good.
From our side, like I was mentioning, we have a network of agents. I hope they are also online, or maybe not. We depend very much on our agents, and they are doing an excellent job. So on the monitoring side, upon arrival, we don't have that much issues. So from our side, right now, the pain is always getting sufficient supply. We have a fixed volume outbound every single week, every single month. Now the main challenge is getting the most boxes. So from our side, I would even go for the least percentage, which is matching container bookings with the fleet, to have enough supply from let's say from Rotterdam, to have enough boxes from Rotterdam for our bookings. That's my main challenge every single day.
Okay. Match booking to release. Okay, that's super interesting. It's great to see diverse or different views across the group. Okay, great. Zooming over to the other side again, we've also asked customers, or not customers, but we've asked industry professionals two additional questions. When you use containers, do you feel that you're fully in control of containers' movements from pickup to drop-off? Yes or no? A bit less than half of them actually say that they are in full control. More than half of people say they don't feel they are in complete control. And then a bit of a follow-on question to that: how much time of your weekly workload involves monitoring each container's pickup, drop-off, release validation, etc., all of the items that we just mentioned? And we see a pretty even distribution between 0 and 100% of time, with a peak at 50 to 75% of time. Maybe on this side, starting with Kühn und Nagel, I know you've worked a lot in terms of kind of tools and processes and so on. So you may be at the lower end of things, but letting you comment on this yourself, Benny.
Yeah, if I would have to spend 100% of my time on this,
couldn't join webinars.
No, that wouldn't be good at all. I think I estimate that I spend about 5 to maximum 10% per week on monitoring the releases and everything. But that's still 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours per week that I spend on that. So it would be good to also be able to use that time and that everything would go automatically.
Understood. Is that what's your view on that, Jack?
Well, I find it quite interesting about more than half people don't feel they are in full control of the containers. So I was not very be very happy to send my containers with these guys. So from our side, we feel full. Yeah, we are in control of our boxes. We have done quite some numbers also by the platform, which thank God are all pick up, returned, and fully in our control. I think on the second one is, it depends on who you ask. If you ask our ops guys, yes, of course, they are 100% of their time is spending on monitoring the container pick up, drop off. If you ask Benny or myself, we will be spending less time. So I would say from our side, my personal weekly workload regarding monitoring the boxes, it's slightly more. I think quarter, maybe slightly even more than 25% are working on this topic. But that includes also getting the containers, getting the release reference, getting the drop-off reference. So
wonderful. Maybe wrapping up this part of the session before we jump into a kind of an exploration of what container control could actually look like. Imagine, again, towards you two, Benny and Jack, imagine that your that container monitoring and everything around that would be twice as fast as it is today, or twice half as much work as it is today. What would be the impact on your business? What would you or your teams spend time on instead of monitoring containers?
Yeah, the more time that we can save, the better, and that we can focus on getting more bookings, more clients, and then leasing again more containers. So I hope the container control feature will allow us to save as much time as possible. That the monitoring will go mostly automatically, and that we can spend our time rather on focus on the clients.
Same answer from Orange Containers, or I guess?
Yeah, a little bit different. We are very much on the work-life balance. So if we could save some more time, we would have more Friday off, like the old days, instead of working till 5 p.m. and still having the feeling, well, just finished or have not replied to a few emails. So have to catch on that. I prefer to have slightly more working hours so we can have some more quality time with the team.
Wonderful. Well, thanks a lot. I hope there was questions coming in throughout the session. We will answer all of them at the end in our Q&A. With that, I will stop sharing my screen, hand over to Franzi, who's leading product development at Exchange around container operations, process automation, etc. Stage is yours, Franzi, and then we'll reconvene for a Q&A at the very end.
Thank you very much, Johannes. That was very insightful, and I'm very happy that I heard a lot of the things that also influenced our research a lot. So a lot of these problems, I guess, for most of the people in the audience here are very well known, especially like the hustle of keeping an overview, keeping transparency on things. We did a lot of research on this whole topic, especially on everything regarding really container operations, moving containers from A to B, and definitely identified that there is this planning phase of matching the need for, like, for example, like for the shipper bookings, right, then to the correct references or even to the own containers. And yeah, we at Exchange, we decided, okay, that's definitely something where we can build a software product for, and also even help with additional services around this to help monitoring container movements from A to B, from pickup to drop off. And I'm very happy that today is the day where we can finally also launch our product to the market and to the audience. So I'm gonna take you through a quick tour through the new product that we have implemented. And yes, exactly as Johannes said, there's time for questions afterwards. Just use the question on the bottom right and just share it there, and we will come back to this later. So let me share the screen. Good. Okay, I hope you can all see it now. So the new product is called Container Control. And Container Control has basically two parts for the beginning. One is the release references, where every release reference can be managed. And the other thing is everything around container bookings. First, I'm going to demonstrate a little bit more about the release references. This is an overview here with all release references that you as a freight forwarder, for example, would have. You can see there's, in terms of the source, 2 different types. So if you're already an exchange leasing customers, you automatically see all your release references that you have from the leasing marketplace in this overview directly. But there's also the possibility to just simply add a new release reference to this overview. This goal is basically to have all release references in one place. So you keep a nice overview and transparency on what is actually going on, how many references do I have, how many units do I still have to be picked up, and so on and so forth. It's very easily structured, so you just see the release reference in the beginning. You can add the supplier. The source is then basically, as just mentioned, from the marketplace, from exchange, or also like a manually added one. And you see your pickup and your drop-off location. The equipment, including the quantity, how many. So in our first example here, we have 15 containers 40 high cube. The release expiry date, and if there's a pickup credit or charge, this is also added right away here. The last 3 columns are probably then in terms of operations more interesting and important. So if we would take an example here from Metatainer Universal, this reference has 15 containers, and you see in the first column that 5 containers are assigned. And this means 5 of those containers are reserved already for a booking. I'm going to demonstrate you the booking overview just in a minute. And then you also see very easily here the picked up and the drop-off status. So in this example, we still have 10 left for assignments, 5 are assigned, 5 of those even are already picked up, and 4 of them are returned. So you can get a nice overview here, what is going on in each and every single reference. If I would go also into the detail view of this reference now, you see exactly all those information again here, but then also down here in the container tracking tab, you see nicely on a container level what is actually happening. So our 5 picked up containers here, the actual pickup date, and POD ETA, also the actual drop-off date is nicely shown here. If you go from the release references to the booking manager, the booking manager helps you to actually keep track of your bookings from the shipper side or from other clients. It almost looks the same, just, well, as that, it's a different view on things. This is more towards the shipper side and your client side. So there you have the possibility to easily create a new booking and just add this to the overview as well. So if you add a very fresh booking, we have this example down here. You just have 0 containers assigned, 0 picked up, and 0 dropped off, of course. And I'm going to show you how you can work on this then actually. So if you go into the details as well, you also see up here just the general information, and then an overview bar about this whole process that is coming up for this container, right? And the very first step is that you actually have to provide containers for your booking, right? So this is a very freshly created booking, and Container Control helps you to pick just from the very best references that you have available. So when clicking on the assign button, you see again, this is your requirement. So we want to go from Hamburg to Ningbo. We want 4 times 40 high cube cargo worthy. And our planned pickup date is actually a little bit more in the future. And this overview very nicely shows you all the available release references that you have. You see from which company, you can also open them easily. You see how long they're still valid. And then you can simply here decide how many units you want to assign from each reference. So let me do an example. We assign 2 units from this reference and maybe 2 units from here. You might have different reasons to choose. And then you simply assign this. And you see in your booking very nicely then, okay, I assigned actually 4 out of 4 containers. So this is already like well planned for now. I know in operation things change and things happen, but this is not really a problem. You can amend the quantities. You can always change the booking. This is really there to help keep a realistic overview about what's going on in the booking. As soon as the pickup phase is approaching, I'm going to show that to you here. Also, pickup and drop-off information is reported. And then you also see this very nicely here in those columns. So this is an example here where we needed 540 high cubes. The planned pickup date was already in June. So we hope that by now they should more or less finally arrive. And we see 5 were assigned. So the booking was served. 5 were also picked up and only 4 dropped off actually. And if we have a closer look here, you also see the information up here. You can go to the container tracking part. You see all the container numbers again. You see the pickup date, the ETA and the POD. And also you see here the drop-off dates and not one is missing. What container control helps you with is actually matching your containers to the right references and bookings, especially for the ones operating on a day-to-day business. You all know a booking is not always the same quantity of containers than a reference, and you start mix and matching and so on. And we actually have a logic in place here that if you report a container pickup in your booking, we can very nicely match this then also to the relating reference. And that is something where Container Exchange helps, because we have a lot of information from the depot. We help with container tracking. So we really want to make sure the information is there as fast as possible. And that might solve some of the hassle that we heard before from Kühne Nagel and Orange Container as well. Running behind the information, putting them into documents, into Excel and G Sheets, trying to keep that overview is very, very painful. So with this tool that we are providing here, you actually have the possibility to see everything nicely in one place, very easily sort and filter the information you need, and finally understand where do I actually have to take action, where is something maybe not picked up or dropped off where it should have been already, and so on and so forth. So yes, this tool, we really hope that we can relieve some of the pain. And you can imagine there is a lot more features and functionalities coming. So we're very happy to invest a lot more into this product and make this a really great operational tool for anyone who needs to move containers.
Thanks a lot, Franzi. And maybe to add to this, I think there's two components in which we believe container control will make everyone on the calls life simpler. One is that simply having all right information in one place and having it in an undistributable way where it's clear this is the source of truth and nothing else. That's one thing, which is essentially replacing keeping everything in an Excel or in a Google Sheet. And the other half is automating wherever it's possible, taking out manual work wherever it's not necessary, wherever it's not adding value, wherever it's not time that you can either spend on your work-life balance or time that you can spend towards value-adding customer-facing information, like overtyping pickup information, overtyping gate out moves from the depots, or manually checking with depots and so on. So that's two parts of value combined essentially into one product, which has been accessible. So the second half of that has been accessible to customers of the Exchange leasing marketplace for the last few years. We've essentially grouped all of that into one product where it's visible in one place altogether. Fantastic. I think we're running a little bit ahead of time, which I think is a good sign, because the longer the product demo is, the worse it usually gets. I think there was a few questions coming in throughout the session. Let me just navigate back to my screen, and I will answer the question in exactly the same way as we've done that before. Here we go. So there's two questions. Two questions were coming in. First, I hope it's visible again. First question was, and thanks, Lera, for putting in the questions that were coming in throughout the session. First question was, a lot of this is, so far we're struggling with getting accurate data from depots. How is that going to be solved in a product, in a container control product? It's a very good question. So one thing is, how do we display the data in a nice way, and how do we make it visible for all stakeholders within the company? But the more pressing issue may actually be, how do you get the right data into the system? What's the right data? I think there is, just like all of you have probably also experienced in the past, there's a multitude of ways. There's some depots that provide direct EDI messages towards you. There's some depots that actually allow you to check inventories on their own websites. And there's a lot of depots that send daily, weekly, event-based reports in different kinds of formats on those containers you have right now at a depot. Those containers have left the depot. Those containers are in repair, etc. At Exchange, we've built algorithms. We've integrated with a lot of these depots. So all customers of Exchange have the ability, if they want to, we can essentially consolidate all of their depot moves, all of their gate moves, and then put them into one place, instead of you or your own teams having to do that and then uploading it to the platform afterwards to then assign it to bookings.
And maybe Johannes, to add one more comment there, and I think that's very important because that goes exactly into this automation topic that everyone is looking for, right? So because we get these information very quickly. Another information that we're also receiving is release confirmation. So also with container control, it's a lot easier to validate your releases. And then what we had in our panel discussion before, right? Making sure that there is no trucker going to the depot and not being able to pick up. So that's additional value that our product is providing.
Yes, absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Next question, is there a free trial of the product? Well, first of all, it's free for all. It's essentially an extension to all existing Exchange leasing customers. They can use the container control product as part of their normal subscription to Exchange. For everyone else, there is a small subscription fee, or it's not a subscription fee, a small fee per container managed. It's in the magnitude of $2 to $3 per container that is run through Exchange, and that allows you both to use the container control product to see all data that's related to it, but also to have all of these services like depot data consolidation, etc. All of that fits together. I think that also answers the next question on the price. Does this mean that there will be real-time updates on where the containers are, or is it managed manually still? There is as close to real updates as possible. So, as I said, in some depots there is real-time updates on inventories, and in other cases it's either event-based or daily updates on inventories. Any sort of information that's posted anywhere in Exchange is real-time updated into the container control. So everything that is happening somewhere, you will see it live on container control. How is accuracy of data ensured on the platform? Is this and very, very good question. Accuracy always an issue in the industry. We've heard that throughout the panel discussion. Accuracy is ensured by several ways. Of course, there's like double checks in terms of have containers been assigned to multiple bookings already. So all of that that's something that the system is checking automatically. And then Exchange has a team of customer operations specialists who are still manually validating release references wherever there's doubts, etc. So that's like there's a technical solution, but there's a human backup check on all of that on top of it. Was there any other questions also to the other participants of the session, or?
Yeah, we can just directly read this from the chat.
Yeah.
Is there a certain list of depots you guys are connected directly into and getting a live feed from?
There is. So if that's something that's relevant, please, best is probably, well, we don't publish a list of that. We do have that list, but we just don't publish customer names or depot names. But if that's something that's relevant, please reach out to us. I think the contacts have been shared by Lera already, and then our account management or account executive team is very happy to go with you through that list if that list is matching your own depots. And otherwise, it's usually a thing where it takes a day to two for us, for our team to then consolidate that afterwards, to make this an automated depot if it's not already on our list. But already today there's several hundred depots already connected, and so that shouldn't be a major issue.
And one more question, Johannes. And are you getting data straight from the depots, or are you also tapping into ocean carrier data?
Well, the best when it comes to pickup and drop-off data, the best data that you can have is the data straight from the depot, because they know exactly, they send the information, the container has left the depot, has arrived at the depot, is in a certain condition. If this is not available, then what we do is we take, for example, knowing that the container is running on Maersk Line ship, we know that Maersk Line is expecting this container to arrive in 3 days, so an ETA in 3 days at the final destination, then that would be our proxy until we have the final confirmed data from the depot. But ideally, so depot data is always the source of truth for us, the ultimate source of truth.
Thank you, Johannes. And we got one more question for Benny and Jack. How do you see this product helping you in your daily workload, and how much time do you think you will save by fully using this product? Can you quantify in terms of percentage?
Of course, we both had a preview of the container control feature. We also had several meetings, what we needed, etc. So I believe the things that we were doing manually and especially also the drop-off actual data that we had to get manually through the consignee or via our KN office at the destination. It will all go automatically, so it should be a lot of time saving, and I would say in percentage it should save us 90% of the time that I was spending now, 90% time saving.
So from my side, I would say it's I look at also from the revenue part as well. Like Johannes just mentioned, we have a proxy of ETAs from the carriers. So that's actually a fact given box arrived 1st of October. And with the actual date returning to the depot, we can calculate our detention, demurrage and detention. That's a fixed source of potential extra income, which we can very easily forward to the customers. It will be much faster than to check container one by one by ourselves or by our agent, and plus there's less error involved because the facts are there. The fact of ETA, discharge date, and empty return into the depot date. I'm speaking about both our own containers as well as lease from the platform. So that's where I see our advantage for us as well.
Maybe adding to this, because we all know by now that Jack is also operating his own containers, right? The vision of our container control system is definitely to provide operational support also on this own container side, right? So this ecosystem will grow, and I'm already very excited to like go in that direction as well, because especially like the automation part of own containers, when we talk about depots, right? That's another story as a container owner than as a container user. So stay tuned there as well.
Great. Well, then, if there's no more questions, Dara, looking at you, is there any other questions? Otherwise,
Nope.
Happy to. Wonderful. Then, thank you all. I think this has been, to me at least, has been a very interesting session, learning quite a bit about container operations, current pain points, things that may be solvable, things that we may have solved already. If this is something that's interesting to you, I think in the notes section we've left contacts to reach out to our team. Thank you very, very much, Jack and Benny, for your time. I really appreciate that, your insights, your time, and also your time that you spent in shaping that product that we've now shared. And thank you all listeners for actively listening in, for your questions, for your participation. And then looking forward to catching up soon. Stay tuned here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.